Hello, everybody. We are the free thinkers from Johannes University, and we hope that you will enjoy the growth strategy that we have prepared for Build with Robots. To begin with the most important values, we have the values of the company that it's to make workers' life easier and better, to reduce the drudgery and to eliminate risk, and to increase the automation and learning of work in a working environment. And this aligns absolutely with the current needs that we have in the pandemic situation that we're experiencing right now, which is to reduce and prevent the spread of the virus, to help companies and people get back to normal, which is also very important as the pandemic is coming to an end, and we'll combine all these needs into an implementable strategy that we hope that you like. So, regarding the approach, we have 4 major steps that we would like to follow. The first one is the sales growth, and we will focus in collaboration with some lead customers, especially in Europe. And second, we have the expanding of the value proposition, some technical tweaks that we can add, we can easily or more realistically add to the product in order to make it more, to perform better, let's say. Third, we have the branding, which is also very important marketing-wise. And fourth, and last but not least, we have the funding securing proposition, which is also important. Money is always important. Now, as I already mentioned before, we have the European market as a main focus, and more specifically, the German market. Why is that? Almost 20 billion euros in annual revenue is spent for the cleaning industry, which is quite high compared with the EU standards. We have 2.5 hours of average cleaning per week. This is one of the highest actually in the world, not only in Europe. Like if you go to Germany, you say you want to adopt a dog or you want this robot, they will go for the robot, obviously. And we have almost 60% of German population that wants to get the COVID-19 vaccination. And now, because unfortunately only the 20% have already vaccinated, this is an amazing opportunity because it opens more alternative strategies to prevent the further spread of the virus rather than the vaccination, which means that we have a potential market here as well. To the collaboration with lead customers examples, we identified 2 major companies that they exist in the German market. The first one is the DB Services, which is the cleaning company of Deutsche Bahn. Sorry for my pronunciation. And they have an annual revenue of 220 million euros. And the most important thing is that they have almost 2 million square meters of space that they have to clean, which is a lot. And hopefully some cleaning, disinfecting, data collecting robots can help them overcome this task. And then we have Lufthansa, which is like one of the lead customers of the aviation in Germany. They had more than 100,000 flights in September 2019. And I know that's old, but we're expecting an increased growth of tourism in Q4 or Q3 of 2021, close to 120%. And these flights will start happening again. And who is going to disinfect all these flights? Hopefully Built with Robots. And they have a lot of aircrafts that we can focus on. And also they are hunting the Skytrax rating. They're competing with other airline companies to increase the safe air travel during COVID-19 rating, which is Skytrax. And the robots will greatly help them achieve this task. To continue with the value proposition, we have some functionality propositions that the robot might have in order to increase its value. For example, the ability to open doors or the ability to use elevators, which could greatly decrease the need of human factor. Then we have the data collection, which is also a very important competitive advantage. We can scan the environment for potential hazards, for missing safety devices such as emergency hammers or fire extinguishers. And last but not least, we have the implementation services that we can propose, which is the chatbots. So the operator can directly speak with the company via a chatbot, which is direct and immediate. We have the remote maintenance with VR classes, and you can see a live examples. To the right, we can select the first Breeze One that was sold to Lufthansa, happily cleaning the airplane. And now my colleague Andrii will speak about the branding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tassos. So the next topic I want to address is branding and social media. When you think about your brand, you really want to think about your entire customer experience. Everything from your logo, your website, or social media experience. In short, your brand is the way your customer perceives you as a company. By establishing yourself as a brand, you can deeply connect with your customers, employees, and the general public. This connection is a gradual process, which happens with time, but it starts by establishing a good reputation. We as a team established a 3-step plan to create a strong brand for Build with Robots. First and most importantly, we want to enhance the current vision of making travel and work safer and help to go back to normal. And we propose doing that by building a testimonial with our previously mentioned lead customers, with content marketing and a strong story behind Breezy One. By establishing an online marketing strategy, we plan to boost sales as 94% of B2B customers search online before purchasing. The main tools we identified as most important are SEO, social media, and search engine marketing to promote Breezy One. Lastly, we want to create a brand that stands for social responsibility, a brand that helps in fighting the pandemic and the spread of the virus. We therefore want to place Build with Robots as a company that, true to its vision, stands for social entrepreneurship, making the company attractive to potential customers, employees, and investors. On the left side of the slide, you can see some inspirational quotes, which we considered as important steps to create a story behind Build with Robots, and which can be also used in the social media environment.
I'm Breezy One. Do you want to be part of my journey? Then just follow and subscribe.
You have just heard Breezy One talking to us and inviting us to follow the company's Instagram profile. The aim is to use social media in order to engage not only with those people finding Breezy One along the way, but rather to a wider international audience. The social media account provides a tool to communicate Breezy One's origins, visions, and goals. We want to build a social media community by utilizing an expanded communication strategy, which increases the emotional engagement. On our next slide, you can see a prototype of how we imagine the personalization and branding of Breezy One. We would advise to build a creative design team which creates fun and new designs for Breezy One. The goal is to have a Breezy in every European railway station, airport, or office. To boost the sales, we want to give our customers the option to personalize the product, which creates additional value and benefit for the customers. In the next part, I want to briefly elaborate on how Build with Robots can boost their financial power. In order to do that, we have decided on 3 ways to secure funding that is necessary to expand and increase the firm's growth. As for now, in the current stage, the seed funding round is completed. So the next step would be the Series A funding round. Here we have the possibility to raise between $2 and $15 million. And possible investors are Sequoia Capital, Benchmark Capital, and Greylock and Essel Partners. Another option is to apply for especially German state funding, as approximately 30% of spending on research and development in Germany is provided by the federal and state governments. Government is thus the main sponsor research in Germany alongside industry. Lastly, contacting your previous or current investors are most important aspects to consider when thinking about securing additional funding. As the existing investors are already familiar with the business, they are more likely to reinvest in the business to increase their profit.
And to continue with the benefits, as we already described the strategy, we fully align with the values of the company and the current societal needs, which is value and dignity of work, we crossed that. Lowering the risk of contamination and infection, obviously, we crossed that. Supporting medical staff, and they went through so much struggle and hardships that it's really necessary to support them, and the device is doing exactly that. And of course, the collecting data ability offers us research capabilities for the future in order to enhance not only the product, but also the general operation for the product. Thank you very much for your attention. Sorry, was it at the end of time? Or?
Yes, it was.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Yes, it was.
Thank
Thank you very much. I ask the judges now to please ask their questions in the chat. I'm sorry, in the Q&A.
Already is one question in the Q&A, right? What would be?
I am not seeing. Let's see if there's one in the chat. I am not seeing any. Well, that's why. There it is. Okay, the first question, if it stops jumping. What would be Build with Robot's biggest challenge to overcome to break into the German market? And how do you suggest they overcome it?
Well, I'm pretty sure the biggest challenge here would be to get known in the German market, because there's also other competition, especially regarding cleaning and disinfectant robots. However, we think, and therefore we propose the strategy that we just explained to you. When Build with Robots is working together with the two lead customers that we mentioned, that are especially present in transportation and therefore also seen by a lot of other people, then the reputation can get a real boost within a very short period of time. And therefore we think this challenge of not being known right at the beginning in a country where you have a lot of robots and different robots could be met with the cooperation with the lead customers in an efficient way.
Please clarify your target market. Is it large organizations or the public at large, or both?
Well, at the beginning, I would say the target market is definitely large organizations, because, I mean, the value proposition of the Breezy One is definitely that it can disinfect like huge spaces within a very short period of time. And therefore, we would definitely go with large corporations. And the two lead customers that we already mentioned are just two of some very big cleaning companies in the German market. And I think when we have a cooperation with these cleaning companies, which are like very large corporations, this would be the best way, because this is what the value proposition meets best.
Thank you. Can you discuss competition?
As for the competition, we have identified some key players in the field of the cleaning robotics in Europe. What we have now, the data we have now, is that the growth will reach approximately more than 24 billion by 2026. And most of the companies are aiming towards alternative technologies, such as UV lights instead of disinfection through other means. We have identified a new player. The name is Karelix. It's a Finnish company, and it's right now climbing the charts. It wasn't included in the main competitors in the PDF file we saw. That is why it's we consider it worth mentioning.
Thank you. Sorry, I might have missed this, but what is the relationship with Lufthansa? Sell to them or co-marketing with them?
Both, actually. I mean, we decided, or we think it would be a very clever step to go into the transportation industry, or like cleaning companies that are doing cleaning for the transportation industry, because then we can build on the marketing story that Built with Robots is actually helping people to get back to normal in times like this with the pandemic and so on. So for sure, we're going to approach Lufthansa to also like sell a lot of robots to them, because they need a lot of robots. But then afterwards, we can make a whole story out of this, the testimonials that we talked about, and get attention from other companies that are also in need of this kind of products.
The founding plan has a range of 2 to 15 million. That is a large range. Any additional thoughts?
I would say that we have two scale proposition in this presentation. And the one is to start with small steps and go small, and the other one is like go larger and approach more customers. I believe the most safe and the more realistic case it's to start smaller, but at the same time think bigger. As Lukas explained with the example of Lufthansa, we believe that approaching smaller companies, therefore requesting less funds, it's more reliable and also more realistic in the specific case. Hope I answered your question partly.
In the rail industry, do you imagine breezy cleaning stations, trains, or both? What challenges do you think are likely?
Well, in the first step, the train stations definitely, but in the second step also trains. And there is also one challenge regarding the technical requirements, because I believe that like the train size in Europe and the US is very different, and I also don't know whether the product right now would fit into a train and in cleaning a train. Of course, this would be like a very good thing if we could do all the cleaning of the trains built with robots. So one of the biggest challenges is probably a technological challenge right at the beginning, to produce a product that is actually fitting inside of these trains here, and also like time-wise, because I mean there needs to be some time after the disinfection took place, and therefore there needs to be like a good organization on when to clean the trains, when other people are boarding the train again, and so on.
Thank you. I was intrigued by the comments regarding additional big data interactions and collections. Any other ideas on how to leverage that area into new business channels?
One idea that we had, since we want to focus at the beginning on the transportation industry, is through the sensors that are on the robots. There is one other idea, or one other thing that could be tracked, like the security of the trains. I mean, normally there are fire extinguishers, emergency hammers, and things like this on trains, and also other safety devices like on airplanes. And if the robot could deliver like a value that enables to track if all these safety devices are actually there, are existent, and maybe also are working, then this would be an enhancement of this business model that would be very interesting from our perspective.
Thank you. Is there a possibility to scale down to smaller entities? Mr. Gourountis, you just touched on this as I was typing. Any additional thoughts?
There is a great possibility in scaling down smaller entities, and as we previously saw the data about, for example, the German market and the potential sales growth to the German population, everybody has a Dyson cleaning device in their house. Why not their for example, the built with robots Breeze One device, when we're talking about like households or smaller entities. The main idea of approaching larger corporations is to minimize the logistics and the further need of marketing in order to enter the bigger markets. And this is the purpose. It's to grow big, and this is a good opportunity as the tourism wave is climbing and the traveling is going to happen both in trains and in planes. This is a very good opportunity, and this is the reason we aimed towards the specific markets. But of course, we are not excluding the smaller markets.
Okay, the session time is up. I would like to thank the entire team. Wonderful presentation. I thank the judges. You'll have about 2 minutes before the next session starts. Thank you so much for being here with us, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, we are about to begin. This is Johannes Kepler's second team. Andrii is our point of contact. The team is all here. Please begin.
Hello, everyone. We are the Johannes Kepler University group number 2, and we are really excited to be showing you today our approach for the Build with Robots case. So as you all know, COVID-19 has changed our lives, and especially our view on disinfection. The pandemic has raised our awareness to all the bacteria and germs that are around us. And because of this new awareness, disinfection will play a huge role after the pandemic as well. So regular disinfection of our hands, surfaces around us, and whole rooms will become a new standard. And this is where new market potential is coming up for disinfection robots. Also, sales of disinfection robots has increased by around 600% during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the market for disinfection robots was at 341 million in 2019 and is expected to rise to 2,325 million in 2025. So as you see, there's a huge market growth that's going to rise, and therefore, there's huge potential for new firms to enter this market with innovative ideas. So our advice for Build with Robots would be to go international and go to the European market, as Europe is the second largest market for disinfection robots in the world, right after the US. However, Europe is a very heterogeneous continent. So in every country, there are like slightly different standards that you need to be aware of that are there. But with our suggested approach, this won't have any influence. So we would advise Build with Robots to approach a leasing business model. So what we basically want them to do is to search for leasing partners in the European realm. It can be some that do like business in whole Europe or just like focused on one country. But those leasing partners already have like established relationships with customers, and they've been doing it for a lot of years. And we've also listed some potential leasing partners that we think would be good to start from. So if you have found your leasing partners, they have customers in various fields, not just in the healthcare segment, but also in the private sector, in the airplane or travel sector, in the public institutional sector, like schools, for example, and of course also in the healthcare sector. And the business model would look as follows. Build with Robots would give their products to the leasing partners. They would take it into their existing catalogs and present it to their customers. And then they would do like the mediation work between Build with Robots and the customers, so that they can do business with each other via this leasing partner. The initial setup would be also done by the leasing partner, because as you all know, the Breezy One needs to be set up before you first use it. Like you need to show him around the place. He needs to clean and like tell him where he needs to go. And of course, also the maintenance would be done by the leasing partners. So the cash flow model would look as the following. The customers who can lease the Breezy One for different amounts of time, it can be 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever they like. And then they would do leasing payments to leasing partners. Those would then get a share of the leasing payments, of course, because they did all the mediation work, they did the initial setup, they did the maintenance work and everything. But the biggest part of the leasing payments would then go to Build with Robots, because of course the product is theirs, they did all the technical backgrounds, they have the knowledge, and so they would get the biggest share of that. So the benefits of that leasing business model would be that we can make use of established distribution and sales networks that already the leasing companies have. Because as I already said, they have been doing that for years and they already have a lot of clients. And that's what we can just, or Build with Robots could just jump in and make use of that. And of course, as you remember, I said in the beginning that Europe is a very heterogeneous market. So with all the different countries and the different knowledge you need to know, also the leasing partners, they would already know all of that because they have been doing that for many years, not just in the healthcare sector, but also in the public sector and the private sector. So they can advise you with legal and market knowledge. If you need to change something about the Breezy so they can operate in any country, they would make a lot of benefit to you. And one huge benefit of that model would be that there's very low risk because there are no really big initial setup costs. So in the beginning, of course, you need to invest some time and money into finding leasing partners and to negotiate some contracts with them and then send some Breezys over to Europe. But that would be rather like a rather small portion of financing than if you would try to build up your own network in Europe. So that would be a rather low risk, but there's a very high growth potential because you can have as many leasing partners as you want to or as you find. So with one leasing partner, you can acquire like say 20 customers, and with 2 leasing partners, you already have 40 customers, and that's gonna scale up at a really fast amount, at a really fast pace. And of course, you can test your product in the European market. So far, the Breezy is only operating within the US-American borders. So you could test if the product is actually also feasible outside of the US. And to go global, the European market would be a first test strategy, to say. And also one thing that is really good is that if you do a leasing approach, it would be like that you can, like some people do not want to invest 100,000 at one time, but they can just see and test the product. And if they like it, they can lease it for more time or just do like a test month or a test 3 months. And so you can also reach those customers who might not want to invest that much in the beginning if they do not know the product. As for the competition, we identified 3 main competitors of Build with Robots, and this is TMI Rob, Xenix, and Blue Ocean Robotics. However, we think that the Breezy One is way ahead of them because of its fast pace. It can do 100,000 square feet in about 1 hour. Then it is really customizable, and the touch screen is really easy to operate with. So you don't need special instructions or no special instructions to use that thing. And it has real life tracking, which makes the Breezy One really efficient, as you always know where it is, and when it's exactly done, you can send your people back into work really fast, so it's really efficient. And where we see the Breezy as a market position, as I said in the beginning, there's a really big potential market growth in the future. And we would advise Build with Robots to not go for the existing market shares that are already taken by the main competitors, but we would advise them to go into that new market growth and try to take a portion of this and establish themselves as a key player along the other components. So overall, our mission would be to make the Breezy One and Build with Robots available to everyone And thank you for your time to listening to us, and we're looking forward to the question and answer session.
Well, thank you very much. And I hit the trigger on 1 minute, but actually you're not even at 1 minute. So good job on your timing. Judges, can you please start asking your questions in the Q&A? Okay, your first question is, do you have an example of new market growth to chase rather than established markets?
I think if no one, I will answer this question in this case. So what is the main objective by our statement that we would not like to go into the existing market of the robots is that we, as Saskia already stated, that the main point is just to make it as available as possible. And this is highlighted, the price for the robot is pretty high. And we are convinced that some of the institutions will not be able to get the full price, to pay the full price for the robot to operate, and probably that are needed for the whole period of time. So that's why the main point is here to make it as available as possible and to reach those customers that are not able to pay for the disinfection robots as for now. So that's going to be the new market. But as for the entering the existing markets, it would probably require another strategy more based on the marketing approach, which is of course a possible option. But we wanted to highlight this possibility to create a so-called new market of the available disinfection robots.
Thank you. Why would leasing companies select your product over competitors?
As I already explained in the ending, the Breezy One is really fast in doing what he's doing, like in disinfecting like all the spaces, and it's really easy to handle. So probably the customers to like such a tool more because they're not so difficult to handle, so everyone can do it. And with other robots, they're sometimes really technical and you need to do a lot of training to use them. So I guess that would be like the main reason why they would also choose their product, because if people like it more, they tend more to lease the easier product or the better product that's faster than one that's more technical or you need more knowledge about.
Thank you. Can you expand on how you plan to raise the capital required to manufacture the robots to be leased?
Actually, we discussed this question in our group before, but the conclusion that we come up with that the best solution will be to raise the venture capital money, because of course it will require the additional investments into the production to cover the whole new market. But we were not really digging deep enough because we don't have enough knowledge about the venture capitalist market in USA. And what would be our suggestion to focus on the US market of venture capitalists, not in the European one, because of the first, it is much more developed and experienced, and also the fact that it has much more funds. But one of the points that we also thought about is that the internationalization strategy is a very attractive point for the potential investors. So that could be the key factor that could help to the company Build with Robots to raise additional funds for the production.
Thank you. Any additional thoughts on the funding needed to secure the leasing partners?
As per my understanding of the question, I think this is kind of the same as the previous one, similar to. So the securing the supply, if I understood it correctly, to the business partners. So I would just repeat that just raising money from the venture capitalist internally from the local market of the USA.
Thank you. Leasing is a good idea to scale and may increase adoption, but it also significantly cuts profitability. Explain why you think this is worth that change in business model.
I think it's worth it actually, because with the leasing model and with the leasing partners, there's a huge potential to get to a lot more customers than it would be if we do it like single selling. So through the access of the leasing partners, we would have access to such a big base of customers that I think it would be worth it to cut back in profitability. If we therefore have a lot of customers, get known in the market, and therefore have a bigger market share at the ending.
Thank you. How would you deal with scaling from other competitors, particularly from the US?
In my opinion, I guess it really depends on their scaling strategy. So if they would like to go with the normal approach by selling their products to the institutions in the European market that we are talking now about, probably the main advantage for us will be the leasing benefit as it is. So the customers will not need to pay the full amount for per robot, and will not need to risk such a great amount of money at the very beginning. And probably we can assume that some of the institutions does not possess such amount of money to be invested immediately. So that would be our main competitive advantage from this perspective. But in terms of competing with other robots for the leasing business model, it is actually another question. I think here the efficiency of the robot itself will play a key role. So here is R&D is the main source of competitive advantage which can be available for the build of robots.
Thank you. We still have 4.5 minutes remaining in this session. Are there any other questions from the judges, please? When you have leasing intermediaries, you lose touch points with the end-use consumers, which includes losing important data. How do you recommend they make up for this?
Actually, this is a very interesting part of the business model that we chose, because we had two options, whether which was to sell the robots to the leasing partners, and they will be leasing them, so it will be like a ready product. But in this case, will be the situation when we lose all the information about the demand. But in case of the share of the leasing price, we will get a significant amount of information about the demand and how the robots are used. So from this perspective, this is the benefit, one of the benefits of this business model. But overall, I would say that this is the matter of the relations between the company and the leasing partners.
Thank you. With an international leasing strategy, have you considered how many units would need to be produced and what the corresponding annual revenue projections would be over the next 3 to 5 years?
So what we would say is that as per our current knowledge and the lack of knowledge about the potential demand, we couldn't come up with any precise number, and being very objective in these predictions. That's why we were not calculating these potential incomes. and we're not considering numbers in this case, just not to be too much of guessing and not to use too much of guessing in our predictions.
Thank you. We have about 2 minutes left. Why do you recommend going through intermediaries instead of developing their own leasing capabilities?
There are various reasons, actually. First of all, the intermediaries already have a huge customer base that we can access, and Build with Robots so far has no knowledge about the European market. The leasing partners actually have that knowledge because they've been operating for years, and they have knowledge about the medical sector. For example, what does this breezy one need to have in order to be allowed to operate in a European country hospital? So they have all of that knowledge, and I think building up that knowledge for every single country in Europe would take so much time and resources that going through a leasing intermediary in that point with all the legal advice and knowledge make a lot of sense and would save them a lot of costs. And also going through the intermediaries also like lowers the risk, because if you build up all these capabilities by yourself, like with every customer by yourself, it takes a lot of time, a lot of resources, and you would need to go there, I guess, by yourself to have personal contact. And if you have to go to Europe every time you want to meet one of the customers, that would be a lot of effort for just one.
And I wanted just to add on this that so usually when you're doing the leasing and the customer would like to lease something from you, you usually want to have a set of equipment, especially for the medical or in healthcare industry. And doing the leasing of only one product can be not sufficient enough for the customers.
Okay, thank you all. We've only got about 20 seconds left in this session. I would like to thank the judges for their participation, and I would like to thank the team. Thank you all very much. Very nice presentation.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. We enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you.
We are about to begin. This is Group 3 from Johannes Kepler University in Austria. Sophia is the point of contact. And if you are ready to go, please begin.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you to all for making this competition possible. We had a lot of fun in the past few days working on the scaling solutions for the 3 companies and are really excited to show you our strategies. So first, I'd like to briefly name the agenda. We will start off our presentation by presenting our results, actually, so our scaling solution. Then we will move on to presenting the opportunities that come with our scaling solution. After that, we will explain our approach and analysis of the market, followed by our funding strategy. And we will close the presentation with the benefits. So, oh, sorry. Do you still see it, the presentation?
I can see it, but it's not the regular screen. It's not the...
Yeah, we just see the first slide, Sophia.
Yes.
1 sec.
So I think you need to click present, so it's on the full screen.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
So let's try this again. So do you see the right slide, Kateryna?
We can see the second slide, but it will be without the animation, I think, because it's not the full screen. We still see the slides on the left.
Oh, okay. For me, I just see it normally, so that's kind of strange, but doesn't matter. We'll keep going. So to find the right scaling solution, we looked at the different markets that would make good fits, and we looked especially at the markets with high traffic and quickly came up with public transport, big events, and even co-working spaces. And most of these actually have one thing in common, because they outsource their cleaning. So that's why we propose to enter into exclusive sales contracts with regional cleaning service companies on the European market. And now to get into the opportunities. So our analysis showed us many opportunities with this strategy. The first one is regarding Europe, of course. So,
sorry, the slides are not moving.
I'm sorry. Can maybe somebody else share the slides then?
I can try to share mine.
Fine.
Okay, and I have paused your time, so don't
Thank
panic.
you so much.
Very sorry for this. 1 second.
Hey, technical difficulties all the time. What would the day be without them?
That's true. Oops. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Can you see the full screen?
I see full screen, and you're on the title
Great.
page.
Great. So, yeah, Sophia, is it the right slide?
Yeah, so the next slide is where we stopped. Yeah, so to get into the opportunities, first of all, we would like to focus on Europe, because in most European countries, the purchasing power is higher than in countries on other continents, which is of course necessary to purchase the robots. Secondly, European companies are willing to invest in disinfection, as the health of their employees plays a huge role, a huge economic role as well. And lastly, for this point, Europe also has a very stable environment. So especially when it comes to the legal environment, but also the economy. And now moving on to the cleaning service companies. So cleaning service companies are well established in Europe and have a comprehensive knowledge of the market there, especially when it comes to customer needs. Built with Robots can make use of this knowledge. Plus, the company can also make use of the established network of the cleaning company. And lastly, for this topic, the risk is also transferred to the partner company, as the customers of the partner company would be the end consumers of Breezy One. And now moving on to the partnerships. So why do we propose this type of exclusive partner? First of all, we believe it's a win-win solution. So the partner has a safety that Built with Robots does not sell to their customers directly. And Built with Robots, of course, has the benefit of entering the market with a large player. Next, an exclusive partnership helps with building a good relationship, meaning that good collaboration is beneficial for product development. And lastly, for the slide, the partner company can advertise with Breezy One, meaning that this way Breezy One and Built with Robots gets well known on the market.
So how do we get our strategy into practice? First, suggest expanding the sales team, as our strategy has a strong focus on getting the product and brand known, which involves the attendance to cleaning industry fairs or networking activities and active communication with potential partners. And we also believe that roadshows with on-site product demonstrations are needed to accurately present the product's value proposition. And next, the probably most crucial part of our strategy is screening the markets to identify the right partners. They should combine a commitment to sustainable cleaning as well as the aspiration to grow above the industry standard. And as mentioned earlier, we suggest targeting larger regional but also multinational companies with a focus on industry, public space, and event cleaning services. And we also skimmed already through the market and can, for example, suggest CCS Cleaning as a partner that covers 8 countries in Central and Northern Europe. An important part of working with cleaning companies is adjusting the product functionality to their needs. So there might be high customer fluctuation at some point, and if we think about events, the robot must be able to adapt to new facilities and changing floor plans in a timely manner. So unfortunately, we could not find out if the robot has the functionality yet, but if not, we strongly advise to develop remote computing. This will result in minimizing the downtime, so where the product cannot be used, and it reduces also the traveling needs of the engineers, which is both cost saving and beneficial for the environment. So expanding globally means also providing maintenance globally. And although we think the product might be robust, we believe that it's crucial to identify vulnerable parts like, for example, the wheels that break down the easiest. So with our proposed strategy, it is allowed to use the spare parts in the cleaning company warehouses. And with initial delivery of the product and on-site training, how to change the parts must be provided. And that service should be extended to a yearly checkup on machines to ensure product functionality. And lastly, a strong focus on customer relationship management is required to not only foster the relationship between the partners, but also to ensure the flow of information about customer needs and market requirements. So how do we think we can finance the strategy? We believe that our strategy is doable with a moderate amount of money, as we, for example, do not plan to set up subsidiaries or a maintenance network in Europe, nor do we plan a huge marketing campaign or suggest any large product modification. And as indicated on the slide before, the largest proportion of the new capital requirement is connected to the expansion of the sales team and their activities. And we believe that the expansion to Europe is attracting for the existing investors for various reasons that got mentioned earlier, and the required amount should be manageable for the business angels that are already involved in the funding of the company. And the second source of funding comes from retained earnings that should be mostly reinvested into product modifications and further market expansion.
So to move on to the benefits, firstly, we believe that due to our maintenance solution, this is an extremely high benefit because Build with Robots can make use of the warehouses and infrastructure of the partner company regarding the spare parts, as Bernie just mentioned. Then, of course, there is also the benefit of being highly profitable, as we suggest to partner with a large company on a very lucrative, attractive market. Social responsibility is also a big topic in the EU, as the EU subsidizes and funds these types of products and companies. Focused customer acquisition is all about how our solution is about concentrating on cleaning service providers, and therefore we can avoid contacting every customer individually, which saves, of course, a lot of sales costs. When it comes to sustainable growth, we believe this is a benefit because our strategy does not look for an all-in approach, but instead it's about growing with the partner. And lastly, this also leads me to the next point, actually, which is about further expansion, because we believe that this is possible with our solution, as our strategy can be used in other parts of the world as well. So that about sums it up. Thank you a lot for paying attention, and we look forward to the Q&A.
Okay, you finished about a minute early, so that time we'll go into Q&A. Judges, if you can please start asking your questions. Okay, first question. How do you envision having multiple partners in the same country? How would you mitigate partner competition?
So maybe it was due to technical issues, but on the first slide, we stated that we want to go with exclusive contracts. So we ensure the partner in the specific region that we are not trading with any other company in the field, not in the cleaning industry, but also not to the end customers.
Question. How are sales teams paid in Europe? Are they paid on commission or fixed cost?
This depends highly on the company. So I've worked in sales before in a technical company that produced bearings. and there we were paid on a fixed salary. But there are countries where you are also paid on commissions. So it just depends, actually.
And maybe adding on to that, we think for the sales team, it's crucial that we hire people that have already a network in the cleaning industry, so we get easier access to the whole industry.
Thank you. Any ideas about the amount of euros needed to scale up?
So we have a rough estimate that is between 600 and 800,000 euros. So it's mostly, like I said, for the sales team and their activities, but we're also thinking about some legal advice for the partnering and entering the new market. And we think we calculated with around 600 to 800,000 euros.
Thank you. Are you suggesting to hire a sales team or contract with an organization in Europe that already has a sales team?
So I think we're suggesting to hire a sales team within the company. So we would not contract with any organization in Europe, but maybe acquire people that are already active in Europe, but make it part of the company.
Thank you. Any thoughts about the competition?
Yeah, we identified a few big competitors that are already producing robots on the European markets, such as Blue Robotics and Blue Ocean Robotics. And as we analyzed them, we understood that Breezy One, such as high detection rate, and what is the most important for companies is the absence of risks. So we believe it will be more efficient than the others, which are already on the market.
You still need to ship from the US, which requires long lead times and additional costs. Why not have a distribution location in Europe that supports the sales team and can deliver more time?
Right, that is a fair point, but we think when we having access to a distribution network of the partnering company already for like smaller parts, I think that is a cost saving strategy. And for the like, if something breaks down in a bigger way, then of course we need to ship the whole product. But we think with having bigger partners in the cleaning industry, they have like 1 or 2 extra where they can hop in with the extra product, so the cleaning does not stop, and the company has time to get the shipping done.
There are still 6 minutes remaining in the session. Any more questions from our judges, please? Can you expand on your explanation for the maintenance solution?
So what we were thinking about the maintenance is that if the robot does not have already the remote computing, because we did the research and we couldn't find that information online, that the new adjustment needs to be implemented. The other thing is the on-site training on the first visit. So when the robot is first delivered to the company, there should be the training done. The third point is to identify the parts of the robot that can break the easiest, and these parts can be stored on in the warehouses of the cleaning companies. And the last point that we thought about is to do the yearly checkup on the machines.
Replacement parts and maintenance is typically a different skill set from sales. How do you propose they execute on it?
Maybe I can answer that. So with the replacement parts, we are talking about small parts like the wheels, for example, and we think we can store them in the cleaning industry warehouses. And with the first visit or the delivery of the product, we think like one engineer can provide the training for the company so people know how to change the parts. Of course, if it comes to larger breakdowns, the product must be exchanged or an engineer needs to fly over.
I believe you mentioned that you can customize units at various facilities. Have you thought about the long-term ramifications of this approach?
So when it comes to customizing the units, we basically talked about the remote programming, which is probably the main customization that we would suggest for the company. So the remote programming would, in that sense, not exactly affect any other parts of the product.
Okay, we have about 2.5 minutes remaining. Have you identified an ideal country in Europe to start with? Any suggestions?
Yes, actually, we identified a couple of partners we can partner up with. So the first one is called Cleaning to the Core, and it's located in the 8 countries in Netherlands, Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, and Poland, and also in the Ireland and UK. It has 2,500 employees, and also due to the fact that we also did the research into the European market, legal aspects, competitors, we think this can be the starting point for the building with robots.
About 2 minutes remaining. Are you concerned that if the exclusive partnership with the large European company doesn't work out, whether that hurts the company's opportunities to further expand in Europe?
I think, yes, that could be a potential problem, but we stated in our presentation that the company should invest a lot in finding the right partner. And also there needs to be a clause in the contract, for example, that you're relatively easy getting out if some problems occur. And we think then we can identify other partners that would potentially be a better fit.
What is that partner called? Cleaning to the Core.
Right, Cleaning to the Core.
I think it was CCS, Cleaning to the Core. So
Yes.
it starts with CCS and then Cleaning to the Core.
Okay. We're just shy of a minute left in this session. Okay, we are going to end this session now. I would like to thank the team for their great presentation. Thank you, judges. We're going to end this session now, and again, thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to welcome our team from Exeter University, University of Exeter in England. Liam is their point of contact. Their slides presentation is up. I'm Linda Stewart. I am your moderator for this. You will, I will be counting down your time. If you are ready, please begin.
Okay. We are the team from University of Exeter, and our team members are Liam, Myriam, Pengcheng, and I. So today, Liam and I will show our business scaling for Build with Robots. And we will divide our content into 4 parts. First is the key factors in the current market. Second is the long-term scaling framework. Third is the medium-term scaling framework. And last is the long-term scaling framework. Okay, first, let's move on to the key factors in the current market. First, the key factors for startups with us here, and we think first is the idea. Idea is a primary factor for startups because all the rest are built on this. Take Tesla, for example, they have an idea to make our world into a more sustainable world. So all the motto and products are built on that, and which make them very successful right now. Second is planning. Planning is to outline what you do and how you will achieve it. So planning is like a pillar of your house. Without that, your company will be a failure. The third is timing. If you want to launch a product, you have to make sure you are in a correct time, and you want to make sure there is the ecosystem around that. And it's okay for you to be a little earlier, but you can't be late. Fourth is the people or the team. Right people sharing the same ideologies, which can boost the startup develop. And the data shows like around 65% of company will take a failure because of the wrong team. The last one is the fund. Fund is very important because it can support you the technology development, and it can help you to buy the business license and hire more people. And the data around here we show is like under 50% of new business make it past the 5th year. So our key is to make our customer in the long term. We want to focus on long-term customers. So next we will say something about the market. It's very obvious, like if you apply the breezy one, it can save your money because the total 5-year cost of that is just $148,000, while if you want to employ a person, it will cost you like $416,000. But we should wait because technology is advancing at such fast rate, so there will be a better product in 1 or 2 years. And the current funding momentum in the cleaning area because of the COVID-19. So more information will be illustrated to you by my member, Liam.
Hi, thank you very much. And so now I want to talk about the scaling frameworks. So we'll start by looking at the short-term scaling framework. And our main point here is to make a customizable product. And there's so many advantages to this. So if we have a look at what we need to do within this to develop and create this framework, we can, by customizing a product, we can expand within the existing target markets. So not only will they buy the machine that they have, they can buy the attachments and the customizable ones as well. We can retain customers because as they get updated and as attachments can be updated, customers and clients will be able to invest in it and know that they have a product that they can use over a long term, as opposed to how we saw just on the previous slide here, where we have 2 janitors that will cost $416,000. But as we said, if there's going to be 1 or 2 years where technology is absolutely accelerating, why would they not wait? And who can blame them? Whereas what we have here is a customizable product that will mean that they want to invest now because they know in the long term it's going to retain itself. Yes, again, it will be cutting edge and we can sell more things to the same customer. So now I'll briefly talk about actually how we would customize this product. So we had a few ideas about different attachments that we can do. So this is the breezy one, and the main idea that we have is that we can have this automated robot system, and we can have these parts. So at the moment, it sort of emits sort of cleaning product. We can also like build in air quality sensors, fresh air attachments. And the funding for this should be very low because the technology is always in place. There's a lot of articles to this. We can also look at having a vacuum attachment on the bottom and a mop attachment. And this will help getting to other markets as well. So if we look at supermarkets, for example, when we have fog disinfectant, they aren't happy with this machine going through and cleaning throughout the night, for example, because they have fresh food out there that might be contaminated in a certain way. So if we are able to get a vacuum or a mop attachment, this will save a lot of manual work with people. This will also allow us to sell these products for them. And so you can almost get like an all-in-one robot. And the other advantage is the current customers that have these kind of robots. If we can add attachments, they will, rather than already having a separate machine, they will think, oh, I can have this, and then constantly upgrade it with the attachments coming through, and it'll show that we're innovating and that the company is increasing. And that's what people want at the moment. So now we'll just talk about the funding opportunities briefly. So this is a slide taken from Boston Analytics. At the moment, disinfection robots is very high funding, but that is mostly due to coronavirus. We don't know the outcomes of this. Has obviously been very uncertain, but if we're looking from 1 to 3 years, we're looking that that's going to probably decline. So that's why we need to expand into other areas, such as service robots, which can include sort of I think they have a painting robot at the moment. We also have the other attachments, so air quality, air filtration, and this is a more stable area. Also, we can look at surgical robots and things, but I feel like for a business of this size at the moment, these 4 attachments in the short term is definitely the best thing that we should be looking at. Okay. Now I'll talk about the medium-term scaling. And what we should do here is integrate the robots with smartphone technology. There are numerous advantages to this. So rather than having the actual system, either you sell a device that's a remote control, which will take a lot to build, rather than having something that you would build, a system integrated within the robot that you would program. Everyone has a smartphone. So why not build an app? Why not build some software to do this? So it'll be easy to use. You can use it from anywhere. It will cut down on any complexity that you have with any new kind of remote that you're going to get, because everyone knows how to use a smartphone really well as well. So the cheapest and probably best way to do this is to collaborate with masters and PhD students, with students ourselves, and we can understand that after doing internships, what we can bring to companies, they're a lot cheaper than hiring full stack engineers. You would need to hire a stack engineer specializing in some kind of phone technology in order to do this, but you can do this within 1 to 3 years. As the students are working on it, they can do it with their master's projects. You can even look at like doing it with PhD students. You can get good ties with universities, and that's the benefit. And I've just got the last point there to look at, because companies doing this. So in the UK, we do. I'm personally like quite an avid cyclist, and they have GPS heads that you can attach to your bike as you're going around. And the market here at the moment, we have Garmin, who I'm sure everyone's heard of. They're absolute giants in there. They've got a lot of good technology, much better than Wahoo. But Wahoo's latest cycling, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, they knew that they didn't have the technology advance over them. So they decided to integrate it within their smartphones. So you have an app and you connect through. The functionality is much better, much smoother, and the reviews, both on YouTube, on all manner of articles, are much better for Wahoo, just because they've outsourced it to a phone, and people know how to use phones, as opposed to having to learn a new system and things. So I'll cut down on training time as well. And finally, I would just like to talk about the long-term scaling framework. So yeah, I want to benchmark similar areas. So basically, just at the moment, I wouldn't recommend putting too much funding into the long term, because as we said in the first slide, that 50% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. So we want to more look at what others are doing. As there's an accelerating rate of technology, we can just keep an eye out and see what people are doing in other areas, and maybe come back to this once we've generated more revenue from this new product. And I would allocate less to this in the long-term scaling. And thank you very much for your time.
Very good timing. You're about 20 seconds short, so you came in under the wire. That's very good. I'll now ask the judges to start asking their questions, please. Okay, your first question. Customizing for consumers around the world is very difficult. Is there a specific segment or location you recommend launching this strategy?
I'm happy to answer this one. So we did have a look at other countries, like outsourcing it to the EU and other places. But I recommend staying within America at the moment. They've got the biggest market, and in order to stay there, you don't have to worry about a small business with lots more costs in order to transport into different countries and consumers around the world. I would say that is more something that you should look at for the long-term scaling, but I wouldn't focus on that right now, personally.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on how much R&D funding will be needed for the customized solutions?
Actually, it's pretty hard to to forecast how much funding is needed. But the attachment we thought is pretty easy, and they are already just successful production, and we just need to combine those into the robot we already have. So it won't be cost too much.
Any thoughts on the competition?
So we've looked at the other competitors, and we didn't see within their main competitors this kind of product. So we thought there's a gap in the market for this. So they don't have many. There's not as many multi-purpose machines like this. They tend to be more companies tend to offer a line of machines that all do different things, so they have to invest in lots of other machines. So that was why we thought this would be a good idea in order to get on top of the market and to be able to expand or scale in a fairly cheap way by just attachments onto the robot, but accessing a much wider market.
Is there a specific company or use case in mind for Breezy attachments?
Yeah, we have an idea like they can cooperate with some sensor system company to make it. Yeah, we have maybe some target list, but we didn't have a very specific company. We have an idea in which field we want to cooperate with them. But after that, we will do some analysis because we are just in the seed stage. So our fund is very limited. So we want to use it in a very useful field and cooperate with the best partnership.
Customization increases production costs, service, and maintenance needs. How do you propose they pay for this? Price increases will make it more difficult for small companies to afford.
Going back to the original one, This in the short-term scaling, we're proposing that at the moment, I guess for a better word, the Breezy one is sort of the cash cow. So that's the one that's bringing in the most money. So we're not what we're not saying is to make loads of attachments immediately. It's one of those gradual things you can start to do within the market. For example, like if you have the Hoover system and the mop system independently, then you can start selling to more like supermarkets and schools, and they will likely buy it and then start to build on from that, as opposed to just doing it at a time. So it's also a good idea because you can release new attachments, and it will scale however the company is doing. Yeah.
There is still 5 minutes remaining in this session. Any more questions from our judges, please? Are you suggesting using their robot capabilities to create all new robots or attachments?
So essentially for now, we're focusing on the attachment part by customization. So we're not diving into completely potential. But for now, our aim was to stay in the cleaning robot.
So I think we broke up slightly there, but in addition, I heard everything that was said, and in addition to that, yes, I think we can use the base robot that we have at the moment, and the technology advance to add these attachments wouldn't be too huge. If they've already managed to build this robot with the air filtration system, to add these other attachments where there's lots of technology out there and lots of papers explaining how to build these attachments. That would be known for a very long time. It shouldn't require much modification.
Three and a half minutes remaining. Now 3 minutes remaining. Are there any more questions from our judges, please? You said that tech changes so rapidly. What do you think the future looks like for robots?
I think as the air pollution is a very serious question right now, and people will focus on that. And I think in the future, we want to build a robot with a more advanced technology, which can make a sensor, because now we do have some fresh cleaner at home, in the office, but they are very simple ones. So in the future, we want to, as we can attach some attachment in our short term, but in long term, we want to build a more big machine system which can sensor each other. Like if you go into your office, in the reception desk, there is a machine there and the air quality is fine, but if you move on, the air quality will be worse, and they will have a system to detect each other, and they will have information about that, and they will let the other robots to work on that. So yeah, that's our idea in the long term.
A final question here. You mentioned that relying on coronavirus increases in cleaning is unreliable. Do you have a guess or opinion whether cleaning will remain in high demand as it is now?
So that's a great question, actually. I wouldn't say that. I would say that increasing in cleaning would be unreliable. So I would say the level that we're at now, for example, like in schools and things, with coronavirus, you need to reduce the spread a lot more. So there is a lot more. We're using a lot more hand sanitizer cleaning within general areas. So I think it will maybe stabilize, but I don't think it will increase as much as it has in the past year or two. And I just saw the other question, and do you think machine learning will play a part in the future for the robot? So I think the technology for machine learning and actually sensors like what Google are doing and other AI companies, I think that it's a little bit naive that what we're seeing is to integrate too much machine learning into this robot, as it will just cost a lot of money, which would be good, but I feel like that it doesn't need that capability at the moment for its function, but maybe within the app.
Okay. I would like to thank our teams and our judges. The time is up for this session. There is now a 1-hour break until the next sessions begin. Thank you again for joining us from England. It was a pleasure having you here, and you are welcome to stay and watch what goes on this afternoon or later into the evening for you. Thank you so much for joining us.